Welcome everybody to the live version of the Alexandra Wenman Show, live in front of our studio audience. And our guest tonight is Travis. Is it Ruskus or Ruskus, Travis?
Ruskus.
Ruskus, I thought so. Travis is an amazing rock balancing artist, and he's also a fellow Watkins author. And so I thought, well, we'll do these events during lockdown just to keep us all occupied, educated, and in touch with our self-love and our self-care. So Travis has very kindly agreed to join us tonight and give up his time to teach us a little bit about what he does and guide us through how to make our own crystal Zen garden. But first of all, Travis, can you tell us a little bit about rock balancing? What is it? How did it come about?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm here in San Francisco, so it's still kind of the morning. So you guys have time traveled into the future. But what rock balancing is essentially you're just putting rocks on top of each other. But like with any art, it becomes a reflection of your energy. So like, are you really apprehensive of like grabbing the first rock? Or are you continually trying to put more on and like you're just never satisfied? So rock balancing is just, like make a balance of rocks. But to me, I find that like the mindset behind that is so much more interesting. And I use that as a tool with, executives here in San Francisco or the janitor to both unlock their true potential and kind of just the stone communicates with us all so strongly that I just am so passionate about sharing this with the world. And I would love to get each of you guys to, balance something by the end of this. You don't have to like do it live with us, but just treating the element of balance like lighting a candle or burning incense is what I want to do because it helps us really tap into that present moment when we're balancing. So
how did you get started with it, Travis?
Yeah, that's like always the first question, but the most difficult to answer because it's just this long, complex journey of like how I arrived here, just like your stories that you all have right here. But essentially, I was a trained chef. I went to culinary school, worked in a lot of really great fine dining restaurants, and I just slowly just found that it wasn't for me, and I just felt like myself do what I was supposed to do, but then realized that like this is not what I'm supposed to do. And after work I would go and make these paintings and I felt so pure just to kind of release my voice to the world in this abstract painting method that I was doing. And I had gotten fired like right before Christmas. I was up in Portland and I just was like, why am I doing this? You guys are all smiling at me every day I'm working with you, but yet, I'm not up to speed and no one could tell me why. And I felt so much illusion. So I tried to make it as a painter up in Portland and it just didn't work out because art is a difficult market to really kind of like build momentum in. So I moved back to Boulder, Colorado, where I'm from, where I was born. And I did a bunch of paintings, and one day I found myself in the river and I was just like, it felt like I was at rock bottom. No pun intended. I just was at like such a low spot. And I'm sure that we can all like relate with that one moment where we just feel like, why am I supposed to be in this pain? Or like, what is the purpose of this pain? Like I think that we can all relate on that. So what I really discovered like upon reflecting on that one moment is that when we're really sad, that's when we kind of open up, like our awareness shifts and we can be a little bit more receptive to what's going on around us. And as I dive deep into this stuff years later, I just see that is what this is all about. It's just getting you, like we're caught up driving in traffic and stuff, and it's just getting us to kind of slow down and just still drive as fast, the same speed limit, but just become more aware of all the things around us. And that's when the solutions can really kind of fall into place. So before I got into that, stage of enlightenment, I was in the river that one day and I picked up this rock because I was just looking at my feet below, like as the water passed by, just staring into the abyss, And the one little note that I would say is that as I was feeling the water rush past me, I could like feel it. And then I noticed myself thinking about the water flowing. It's almost like it was turning off and on as I was going between feeling and thinking and feeling and thinking. And it was a great moment for me because that's what this whole thing is about. And I picked up this rock like below, it was just shimmering and still below the water. And I thought to myself, like, how old is the rock? Just like out of curiosity, because it was so golden and stuff. And Alex, what do you think? Like, how old is a rock? Let's just get your
Do you
guess.
know, you're just making me think about so much. I feel like we've got loads in common. I see faces in rocks and they talk to me, and I often think about like how long, like I have a rock, should have brought him with me actually, he's in the other room, but I found him in a crop circle and he looks like an alien. He absolutely looks like an alien's face. And this message came through when I picked it up, and I was looking at it going, no way, like no way. And the rock,
Yeah.
the voice came through and it was, think about how long it's taken for the two of us to meet. Think about how long it's taken for the detail in this rock to form, to make this face, to bring you to this point here, so that this meeting can actually occur. And I really do believe, like, you know, everything has consciousness in my experience, and that is the most incredible thing. It sort of brings everything into perspective, doesn't it, when you kind of stop and you think about nature and the world and time, and how sometimes it's so elusive, you can't grab it. You know, just like today, Evie and I were just saying how quickly today has passed, but you can just slow down and really contemplate, wow, like, and what shaped the rock into that shape? Like, what has
Mm-hmm.
made it, that color, that texture, that quality, that it really does. It's quite humbling, isn't it? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
love hearing
actually,
you talk about it. It's beautiful because, you know, at this time, we all need to kind of slow down a bit and think about life, and we're all being forced to. So, yeah, it's incredible. Thank you,
I think we
Trevor.
could have like a whole episode just on that right there. You know, like there's so much to unpack. And I actually have a little stone with a big chip in it to remind me of like how it's nice and round, and you think about how many years it takes to have a stone become round from the water rushing past it and all the sediment in the water just slowly kind of chipping it away. But then also like with a solid chip, how quickly you can chip that. You know, you take a rock and you throw it and it splits in two. So here it is taking, you know, millions if not billions of years to be formed, to turn from the mountain into like this stone. And then just like that, you can break it in two and continue its path. But yeah, so like just to quickly finish up of just like how I like discovered this, it was in that moment that I picked it up. And just like you're saying, I felt like I couldn't come up with an answer. And I thought, okay, it's got to be like, you know, a million or a billion. But I don't know. And I guess we don't know. All we have is this moment. And when I was holding it, I could see my young hands, like compared to a million or billion years. And that's like, if this is the age of the rock, like I'm this young. And so much time has passed. And how is it that I am here right now? You know, so that in itself was a huge unlock. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to balance it in the most difficult way possible. And after 45 minutes, I was just like struggling because my thoughts were just trying to force it. And then when I did that, I just became exhausted with my thoughts, and I just started to breathe, and you could feel where the stone was falling over, and you just kind of like line it up and put it in the center. And this is a very basic example, right? But it was in that moment where it clicked and it was standing upright that it was so free. Like monetarily, it cost me nothing except my breath. And I just felt like all the illusions had been shattered. And I just felt like there was this abundance that really surrounds us all, that we're kind of like, we grow up in this scarcity mindset, you know, fight them, trust them kind of thing. But really it was in that moment, it just kind of like unlocked the whole thing. So I just went off the deep end and just started balancing like crazy. And when I started to get people to come up just out of like magnetism of like, what is this thing? At first it was really amazing of like getting the flashes, and, you know, people are just taking photos of me, and the ego was like, yes, that's right, I am amazing. This is so awesome. You know, it's like, I'm sure each of us have a talent that when we first discover, it's the best metaphor I can give is I have a motorcycle. And whenever I drive up to other cars in my motorcycle, like I'm like really, I feel like I'm like cooler than them or something. Like their minivan is nothing next to my motorcycle. But then when I have other motorcycles next to me, I have to be like a little bit more in check with myself. So when I was balancing and getting people to just come up, I didn't want them to just have a flash. I didn't want them to just leave with a little square frame of like that day. I wanted to have them feel this spiritual experience. So when I was bringing them in, I took that 45 minutes of struggle and frustration of me figuring it out, and I just could teach every single person in under a minute. And once every single person got it to click, I just saw the same spark in everyone's eye. And then I was like, oh my God, like this is totally a lie. Like we've been lied to our whole life. So yeah, that was really kind of like for me, what sparked this. I could see that spark in their eye.
It's like that scene in The Matrix where they go, there is no spoon, and the spoon just bends over. It's like you're mastering the energy, aren't you? I love it. I find that it's almost like the energy becomes tangible then, and you're in the flow with it rather than seeing it as nothing.
Much like, I guess, the virus right now, like we discovered that, hey, we're all in this together. Like this isn't just me and my world kind of putting on a show and then you do you, and then we'll kind of like walk on the same earth. Like we're sharing the same air, we feel things collectively. And I think, if I can get every person on earth to balance a rock, that like things can kind of shift because we realize, we're in this together. But, that's an idealist mindset. And my thing is like, if I can just make it so when you're rock balancing, you're going to encounter moments of frustration. And when you can learn to like breathe through that and just chill, like relax and keep trying, you fail. Okay, come on, keep trying. That when you take the rocks away in regular life, it just becomes the same thing. That when I'm typing emails, like it's not going to be perfect, but I may not write the most perfect email. I'm just putting that effort in there. And ultimately with rock balancing, all it is you finding your moment of happiness. So if you say, hey, with one rock, I'm happy, then you win. But for me, like I try to continually push what's physically possible with myself every single time. So by setting that kind of rule for myself, I have to like really go to the edge before I'm happy. So if you're happy with one rock, that's great. If you're happy with 10 rocks, that's great. Just recognize that like you hit that point.
It's incredible too. I've seen, if anyone hasn't seen some of Travis's beautiful creations, you do have a
Here's
YouTube
the
channel,
book right here, like a little.
Yeah, you've got the amazing book. And I watched one actually the other day. And I mean, you've got this huge rock balancing on top of this tiny pebble, and it is a feat of, it's just incredulous that it does defy the laws of nature. Really, you are literally, you are pushing the bounds. I mean, people might think, it's just balancing rocks, but it really is incredible.
I was just going to say that it's just alignment, and I'm doing like a lot of spiritual work on myself lately to really walk the talk, and the word alignment just keeps popping up. That like I feel like balancing is finding enlightenment, and enlightenment is actually just a moment to moment thing. It doesn't happen like at the end of your life with a lot of money and you go to a certain part in Asia to a certain secret temple and then like you're enlightened. I think it's that whole journey of your entire life. Can you recognize these moments as they happen instead of thinking about the past or projecting into the future? That to me is enlightenment. So when we balance, we're just feeling the moment as it happens. And like with driving in traffic, like it's the same thing. We're just feeling the moment. Can you feel the tires on the road? Or a simple thing like actually just projecting your gratitude to people driving around you can do tremendous things for your own energy. It just shifts, because instead of you going like, why are all these people in my way? To, man, I wonder what their story is. Like, where were they before this? Where are they going now? That we all have such intricate lives. And here we are, like all on the freeway sharing this moment together. I find that there's so much power in that awareness. So if you have like some more questions, definitely throw them my way. But I just want to really quickly show you guys kind of my setup at home, because this is something that I've recently developed because especially with quarantine, it's like I can't go out and balance all the time. And it's really nice to get people to do it at home, because you guys can't come out to the beach all the time and balance. So this is my indoor crystal Zen garden.
It's so gorgeous. So what do we need to create one of these, Travis?
Yeah, so there's 4 things, okay? 3 things if you don't want the little fancy Zen rake. The basic is rocks or crystals. I have a tray. I've seen people use like a big dog bowl, or you can just do it on the table, but this just helps it stay durable, I guess, that, you know, when things get chipped up and stuff, that it's just happening in here. You're not notching your table and stuff like that. So I have a variety of crystals. They each are aligning with different chakras of the body, and I can go more into that, but very basic level crystals that can get damaged. You can see there's some knocks and niches in that. Just with this one, because I've bought it specifically for balancing. I have like a bunch of other crystals over here with like my altar.
My God, your house is like mine. It's like a crystal shop.
Yeah, but there's like some that I would be so like nervous trying to balance. So I just like leave those to be, you know, to be held and to feel their energy. But I have a specific set of crystals that I balance because it's so fun actually, like balancing crystals. I wish I could balance those, but just having a set that you can just like have a little play sand area is amazing. So from there, you have the tray, you have the rocks or crystals. I did a workshop. Someone recently did a potato and some lemons that they were kind of doing this. So you can be creative with what you have at home. And then I have some clear sand. It's just like a fine decorative sand. And the dimensions of this is 1 foot by 1 foot, and then it's 2 inches deep. Then I have like 5 pounds of sand. So the Zen rake is like my favorite little thing, because once you have like the balance up, and I'll make a little one for you guys, it's like where the whole thing comes together, where, you know, I'm nervous, I'm at my limit, I'm happy, I'm like slowly raking, okay, and then you just let it, and you're just so deep into the moment. It's just, the rake is like my favorite little part. And what's really fun too, I really suggest getting the sand in the rake, because when you reset it, the rake can build so much creativity, and it acts as like water, or you can split it, or just do some cool designs. So just to kind of get started, I'm just going to take these crystals. I like to do a little tap so that the sand doesn't kind of go on the table, that it just nestles in there. And yeah, get started with this. So I can like interview and balance at the same time if you want, but I suggest
I'm going to mute
myself
so that you can just guide us through. I think we all need to come into the moment
exactly
with you. Yeah.
So a simple kind of meditation, if you're trying to just hang out a little bit, is to we're going to take 3 breaths together, okay? So wherever you are in your breathing, just exhale all the air out. Breathe in nice and full. And just become aware of the oxygen in your body as you exhale. Where does it go? And then second breath, nice and full. When you get to the top, you just want to relax. Just let it go. It's okay. And we're going to do that second breath again. So breathe in nice and full. And when you get to the top, pretend like there's a scan going from your head to your neck, to your shoulders, to your stomach, just letting it all go. And the third breath, maybe the biggest, fullest breath of your day. I want you to enjoy this moment, whatever shape or form that is to you. Maybe you don't have to do anything right now. No chores, no emails. Just watching some guy balance something. So if you can use these 3 breaths, you know, aware, relax, enjoy, when you're driving in traffic, the relax breath is going to do wonders. Like me just relaxing on my motorcycle, so I'm trying to go from A to B, has transformed my mind. So I just am like, there's no need to rush. So right here, just notice yourself where you're at. If you have something to balance, definitely I would suggest getting something flat. Start your attempts. And with this, the pro tip is, like, you can see the little craters from the previous session. I'm just going to go ahead and shake it. You can see just like that, it's reset. So what I'll do, like incorporating this into my daily life, is after breakfast, I'll just take this all out, kind of shake it up, and kind of feel what is the day, kind of like a tarot reading almost, of what is my energy saying. So here you can do 2 things. You can start with your base, or if you have the rake, you can create like these cool little designs, you know, and if you don't like it, you can always just rake it or shake it. That's why it's just so fun. I like it. So let's just do that. So the rake symbolizes this water. With this is my base. It's a selenite crystal. You can do it like this and just kind of bounce whatever's on top, but you can also get creative. I really like sides of it. It's kind of cool. I can get more area to balance a couple things, maybe make a 2 tower and connect them on the top. But before I get really complex, the very basic component is, if you can go like this, just take your hands like this. Capiche is the easiest way to like get you to understand that. And there's a little triangle that's happening right here. There's a little triangle. And this represents the base. Your finger right here, try to put that in the middle, and you can feel there's a pinching going on. And it's really just 1, 2, 3 points of contact where it actually clicks into place. And I'm going to use this amethyst. See how it has like these really rough, that nice rough base? It's just the same thing. You got 3 little grabs going in like that. And I'm gonna put this selenite right in here. So you got the 1, 2, 3, and it will click into place. So right here, I'm just gonna go ahead and nice and sturdy. And during this moment, that's where like the whole breathing comes into play. You can't think the rocks into existence. You just let it flow, and then it'll click into place. So I really, really recommend that you guys do this. Maybe not this second, but do this, because what happens is it really unlocks something within yourself where you realize like, oh my God, I can do this. Like I've seen 5-year-olds do this. Actually, I had a 3-year-old. So we got some footage of a 3-year-old sending me how to do this. And also, you know, my favorite is the pair of 95-year-old Polish women that came up to me on the river a few years back. And when I taught them how to do this, they just, it was like they were kids again, because when you get old, you just feel like you've done everything. You've experienced so many things, you've done the same routine so many different times. And to do something new like this, it can just remind you of like how every moment really is this fresh start. So from here, once you have the single stone, you put some pressure on top, and you can see like if I put, this is like a pretty delicate balance here. If I put pressure like on the side, it's just gonna fall over. So if I put pressure on the top here, it's gonna end up being pretty solid, and that's where I want that next stone to be. So let's just do, I'll just do like for, so you can understand the whole balance, like this really flat stone. Just like that, right? You can see how there's this center point of balance. And I can keep building, but just for the sake of time, what I'm gonna do is actually lower my standards. a little bit. And what I find is that as soon as I get people to balance this first stone, that they're like, okay, I want to do 10 end on end, and it's just like hard. It's difficult. Like you have to be really sensitive and notice the subtleties as the stones and crystals talk to you. But if you can like put it on its side, all of a sudden like things get a lot sturdier. So it's such a great metaphor for our own ideas that we have and how we want to have the most amazing, awesome ideas, but really like the ones that actually work are the strongest. So I've noticed that those who want to do one really fancy and then do more, like you can do 10, 12 rocks flat instead of doing like 2 or 3 on point. So that just like is a nice little tidbit to think about. And with counterbalancing, I know that I'm doing like a 0 to 60 tutorial here, but with counterbalancing, you just want to take the rocks and kind of put them on their side and see how far you can kind of pull them apart while it's still locking on top. You want enough pressure to be on top. Just kind of like freestyling it, but. And one thing that's really going to take your balances to the next level is, yes, when I'm looking at this flat square right here, I'm just like, okay, I want to balance something on there. It's got nice grip, great. But it's also thinking about what is on the top of the rock. What are we leaving ourselves with to help really go far? So I wonder if I can do like all these. So there's like, this is the classic method of just the tower. And I noticed that as I put that last one on, this right here it's actually really slick. So if I put more weight on, I feel like it's gonna start to slide. So I think that I've reached my moment of balance with this one here. Like I notice when my hands start shaking that it's a good time to like relax. So whenever I teach people how to balance, one of the most important things is at the end, you just always knock over your balances. And this teaches you how to release. And if our world could learn how to release, a lot of problems would go away. Because, you know, I'm driving in traffic, some guy cuts me off, and I'm thinking about him for the next 4 hours. You know, I'm going to bed and I'm like, I cannot believe, how did that happen? But if I can release from it, I'm just free from it. And that's easy to do with traffic, right? But like what happens with relationships, or like me, I'm getting a lot of high school nostalgia that I'm just like, I am not that person anymore. Like, why is this continuing to trigger me? So this deeper pain that we have, I find that the release can be really therapeutic with that. Like if you can learn to knock over a pile of rocks, like it can start to help with letting go of some of the things that we're squeezing so tightly though. So one last little tidbit I'll give is that like really be creative with this. There are no rules other than the rules of gravity. And like with this, I can even put a little spacing like that, you know? So it's really cool. A lot of the great balances happen when you can get creative like that. And I'll put like one here. Maybe do another one like that. So C, put it like that. So just for the sake of time, I'm just going to stop with this little guy. I'll maybe put one more on top, just one more. And then one little cool thing that I like with these gardens is you can take and have little like points of focus. So that way, when you do the final raking, that you have like these other little like ripple areas. It's pretty cool. So with this, I know I'm rushing through this, but it's just something where as I'm I usually have this over on my desk, and as I'm working or editing, I just glance at it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Abundance. Totally. And then it's also interesting too, like as the day goes on, it's like at what point do I bump it? Do I get kind of out of alignment where it's just like ruffles the feathers? So this is looking kind of cool. The last little tip I'll give with this whole thing is when you rake and you have like these side areas, I like to, let me see if I can show you, just finish with whatever that center balance is. That way it gives like this nice kind of central focus on whatever you're balancing. So there's the tutorial. I hope you guys make it like, this is the moment, you know, so maybe you're going to be 85 and think about that one day that you watch this Zoom thing. And I just want to benefit you in that moment too. So there you go.
I love it, Travis. I love this. What I love is the whole philosophy behind it as well. How, you know, it really is a way to live your life, isn't it? And I love the temporariness of it, that, you know, it's not something that you build, and well, you probably could if you wanted to, if you really loved it, glue it together and have it as a permanent sculpture. But I love that they're like these temporary artworks, and it sort of speaks to the impermanence of life, doesn't it? And
yeah, this moment right here,
yeah,
like spending this all with you guys, like I feel like it's so comforting. We could be here for a while, but you know, we only got a few more minutes of this, so might as well enjoy it. Just soak it up.
I'm loving
And
it.
I mean, I see like you have these chakra signs behind you too. So, you know, that's a balance right there. It's just aligning these different chakras of the body is really what I've discovered. And I could even like walk you through, the little 7-step process that I have of like essentially how to align the mindset of it. Because the physical act is like, yeah, you get the stand, you get the tray, but like, what are you
Tell us
thinking during
your
those
tips.
times?
How do you prepare to do it? That would be wonderful to hear.
Yeah. And actually, so I had 7 chapters in my book, and after it was published, I realized, oh my God, like this totally matches the 7 chakras of the body. So if we're just going to do this real quick, like just get nice and comfy in your seat or with your balance. And it just starts in the root chakra with breathe. So that's when those 3 breaths are really helpful. Even right now, just notice, like, do you feel the warmth of your chair? You know, is it nice breeze with you, or just is it nice and quiet? Just really tap into that moment. Breathe. So you feel that in your feet, the base of the spine, and we just go up 1 chakra. And I feel like this is where opportunity lives, because it's, what are we seeking? You know, once you realize, oh my God, I'm aware and in the moment, there's so much opportunity here. There's actually abundance around us. And once you really see that, that's where we rise up into the solar chakra, and that's believe, because we see all this opportunity, but we have to believe in ourselves enough to go after it. We have to believe in ourselves to pick up that first stone. From there, you have that shining like the sun. We're going to go up into the heart. And this is where I find that balance lives. That peace actually lives in the heart. It can be spoken through the throat. You can feel it in the top of the head, but really that heart is where that peace and balance lives. So it's just noticing, you know, if something got you off, come back to normal, just enjoy it. As we rise up, we're going to go up into the throat chakra, and that's limits. And this can be a block for a lot of people when I'm doing these workshops. And it's just noticing how you're, you know, setting yourself up for self-sabotage. What are the limits that you're holding on yourself? And yeah, right now with the virus, like we have a lot of external limits. I can barely go outside or get a cup of coffee even. That's a limit, right? But I control where I get coffee. You know, I control the words that I write in this book. And it's just noticing your limits. Are you kind of like scared to like pick up the next rock? Or are you going beyond your limits very frequently? Like after I can do stuff like this, right? That was 2016. I made that image, that balance. So this is 4 years later. I'm like continually going to the edge. I have to kind of reel it back to just tap into reality, because now that I'm at this place where I'm like, I can do anything, you know, like what's a crazy way we can do this? I got to be like, okay, gravity is talking to me. Like, let's put them in the conversation. So with you, where are your limits? We're just rising into that. And as we rise up, the third eye, that's going to be release. And if we can release the thoughts, just let them flow like water, it's so beneficial. It's like one of the example I can give is my mom. And a couple years ago, I had this great experience out on the beaches of San Francisco with Airbnb, and she came along with the crew that I had, and it was so interesting. I always do a great, like, nice, solid meditation before we start balancing, and she's like this, just furrowed brow, right? And I know my mom, she's like, I gotta do 10 things, I'm writing emails, but I'm listening to this podcast, and I got this client in 10 minutes. Like, she thrives on that. But for her, that clearing, for her, like her mantra of peace is clearing. So I got to continually remind her that, like, you know, thoughts you think they're great, you can pile it on as much as you want, but just learn to release it. And then it's like really light in here when you do that. So the last one, crown chakra, the top of the head, that's evolve. And that's just taking these principles: breathe, opportunity, believe, balance, limits, release, over and over and over again. And that's what gets us to kind of step into the moment. So with me, it's not like, you know, I picked up that rock one time and then I'm like enlightened. I have to do it every single day and remind myself of just how much I don't know and how much I have yet to learn, that this is just a continual process. And if you can just evolve with it, your balances will definitely take off. So yeah, that's really like my path to enlightenment. And I just hope that you can recognize where you feel blocked and also where you feel really open. So small examples: at the beginning of the year, I felt like my root chakra was just like, didn't exist. Like I had no roots. I didn't know where I was going, and I had to work on that. Just notice that so I can work on it. With my mom, I actually did this with her recently. It was great to do like an online thing with her. She's in quarantine and she was just so blocked in her limits where she's at. So I just ask you guys, where do you feel blocked? It's an honest conversation. We can have them, I guess, write it in the chat, or if anybody wants to, now's your moment of like where you feel blocked. I have simple solutions for each chakra, but
should we open up I might unmute everyone just so we can open up and then share a little discussion at this point, if you'd like, Travis.
yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Let's do that. So, I just want to say a huge thank you to you, though, my lovely. It's actually it actually works, because just being in your presence is so relaxing. I feel like, is anyone else feeling like really chilled out? Even from the moment you started talking, I was like, we can talk all day.
Well, I think part of what that is too is that I just believe in everyone. Like I don't see any color or religion. It's just that we're all the same, like, consciousness. So
It's lovely.
I'm connecting with myself really here.
Well, just before I do unmute everyone, do you want to just share how people can find you online and everything? I know you've got a YouTube where you share some of your beautiful balances and everything, and obviously the lovely book that you've
search my name, Travis Ruskus, on any social media platform. You can also just type in rockbalanceguide.com. Here's the cover of the book if you want to just check it out. Like, I went through it pretty quickly, but if you really want to get like some deep insights of like what I know about each of these topics and then like balancing rocks, just check it out, because I don't know what else to do to get that to communicate to you. So
That's lovely. I'm gonna put this recording up as well on the Alexandra Wenman Show afterwards. So you guys, if you want to rewatch it at any time, you can, and I'll share all the links there on there as well, and on I think I've shared it on my Instagram as well. So, but Travis, a huge thank you to you. Thank you so much, my lovely. That was brilliant. I'm going to unmute everyone. So if anyone has any questions for Travis or any insights, please share away. Anyone? We've zenned them all out, Travis. They're all catatonic. Jackie has a question. She says she's seen in Estonia once back in 2012 these balancing rocks on the seashore. And I think my Estonian friend said the tradition is you can go and pick another pebble of your own and then place it onto the formation, adding to it, and make a wish. If the formation stays, it will come true. And do you ever make a wish with each formation to complete, for example, with the last pebble placed?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. I'm actually great that you're aware of that, because in a lot of Eastern cultures, in Japan too, like it's essential to, when you see one, to take a little rock and put it on top and just kind of build that collective consciousness. But in North America, it's very, very almost demonized, of like, what are you doing to the earth? How could you do that? And I'm just like caught in the middle, like, who's right? For me, what I like to do with every balance is, it's come to this point where I'm working through something spiritually. So the last one I just did last Wednesday was prosperity. And for me, it's this time of prosperity, working through that feeling of what does prosperity feel like? And when I get to that last rock on this balance where I'm just projecting prosperity, that's what I feel. And it just is like, sure, a symbol of prosperity in this balance, but also in all the balances I do. And the thought that was like resonating with me during the time is open to the abundance that surrounds you. That's what prosperity is. Like, it's all around you right now, but we just need to kind of like crack the eggshell and experience it. So, like this one right here, this was attraction. The actual addition is attraction, and it's just thinking about our thoughts and feelings, what we think attracts to us. So whether it's good or bad, it's coming straight towards us. So at least you can kind of control the thoughts you think a little bit. So there's a lot of these, like I that was edition 185, right? So there's a lot of themes in life that I just like to kind of build on. And I'm just excited to see what kind of happens next. And also I'm excited to just get one of you to balance the rock, and like that feeling that you'll have of just, oh my God.
It's just lovely. It's something so different. Like, I've seen these done before, even in Australia where I grew up. Loads of people do them by the river there. Mm-hmm. But you see them and you kind of, they intrigue you. You kind of wonder, oh, what does it mean, and what is it for, and how is it done, and all of that. And just to have you speak to us about it and delve in a little bit more.
And I do have to have like a public service announcement of, if you are creating rock balances in the wild and you're leaving them, that's a sign of your attachment and your ego. Mm. You're saying, hey, everyone, look at me. Like, I'm not even here, but you still see my ego. Isn't it cool? And you could say that, like, that's what I'm doing with my art, right? Like, that I'm taking this moment and I'm saying to the world, like, hey, isn't that cool? But what I'm trying to do with the art is get you to look at yourself. What do you see in this moment when you look at it? But if you can in the wild, like, take some rocks that are clean, go through it with yourself, see where your energy's at, vibe out, chill out with your balance, like while you're having a beer or something, when we're not in quarantine. And then at the end of it, like, just knock it over, release, and move on to the next moment. Because ultimately, like, you're never, unless I'm there with it, you're never going to see my balances in the wild. And that's really how it should be for this practice to become like every person on earth balancing rocks. We can't all just like go to these places, because I get sent all the images where people are like, hey, look at this spot in Italy, look at this spot in Australia, where there's just thousands of rock balances, and you could feel it in the photo. It's like really charged up. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, oh my God, all these people don't know how to let go. Like, we got some serious issues here. So that's all kind of say about that. this amethyst is going to be around a lot longer than I am.
Mm.
So, you know, we're just guardians of this world right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We've got a few thank yous on here. Jackie says thank you. I love that. I love that you have a theme in mind when you make one. Love it. Marianne says thank you, Travis and Alexandra. Really amazing. Looking forward to giving it a go. How lovely. It's just so lovely. I think we're all, I feel Friday night zenned out. That's really good. Really amazing.
And one little thing I would say is that if you want a link to the stuff that I use, like the exact set, you go to rockbalanceguide.com/crystals, and you can just see, I made it so like if you want to just get this cool selenite stone or just the tray, you can. I'm not affiliated with any of the companies. I'm just like, I just want this idea out there. I want people to start balancing. Like it's like saying I want people to paint, but you have to have my paint set. You know, I have this specific paint. It's like, no, just go paint.
Yeah. And we've got loads more of these free ones coming up as well. They're all free with the Watkins authors, and it's just for you guys. We just want to make lockdown as fun as we can, and as like to come together in community as well. It's so lovely, isn't it? I've seen quite a few of you on these, and it's really nice. I'm like, look forward to my Fridays of hanging out with you guys. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I just want to say a huge thank you to Travis for giving up his time for us to talk us through this beautiful, beautiful practice. It's absolutely gorgeous. It makes you even more mindful, doesn't it? It just takes mindfulness to a whole other level altogether. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and so this morning I had this vision of like when you're starting out, you are kind of unsure, right? It's like this triangle that's getting this angle that's getting bigger, right? And then as you build more momentum, you build more confidence, and then all of a sudden there's so much noise, there's so many things going on, right? Like how do you stop it? It just goes into infinity. And also the other way, like you have all the stress, there's also this arrow coming back, so they're kind of meeting in the middle with the breath. So wherever you're at, like in any moment, the simplicity of this whole thing is just breathe, and then from there, like that's up to you.